Where are we, Joel?
We are at the Oxford. It is a sports pub and secret society. So, David, I want to say welcome to
Thank you.
my friend's establishment.
It-
Your friend now.
It's quite the
Let's see.
establishment, too. This is great.
This is how David does it, right? He networks right through me, right past me, and they become better friends with him than
Joel sets the table. I prepare the dinner.
there you go. But no, this is a great environment, and we're glad to be here. Um, there's my for the day. So it's great to know that these people here want us here. We want you here. That's the most important thing. We want you, the viewer, to come here and have the conversation with us.
Yes.
We don't want to be alone here. We want to have your input. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going to interview some people here, but today we're going to talk about one of our subjects that have driven us crazy. It's come to our attention.
Correct.
For me, again, this is where I get to say, I actually agree with this one. And let's toast to that one. Sending immigrants away from the border to the sanctuary cities. Now the law of the land of Florida.
The governor has now been given the authority after he signs the bill. I'm not too sure if he has signed the bill.
Was that
or
carte
not.
blanche?
Not carte blanche
blanche.
yet. He's been authorized $10 million to fly alien migrants. I think that's what they call it in this bill, from one state to a sanctuary city in another state. He now has the official legal duty under the, let me pull it up here, under the alien, I'm sorry about that, unauthorized alien transport program with $10 million to transport migrants to cities that have sanctuary policies.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. I like that.
And this comes on the hills of DeSantis flying
So it's not a
alien migrants
so it's
to
not
Martha's Vineyard.
so it's not just a stunt anymore. So we're going to take
It's legal.
we can actually take people from Texas. We can ship them up to Martha's Vineyard,
Yes.
and we won't have everybody going, this is a stunt. This is the legislature gave him this authority, right?
Yes, the Florida legislature has now given him the authority. Before, he did not have the legally expressed authority to do this, and now he does.
Man, you gotta love these special sessions. I mean, they go up for one thing, and all of a sudden you just get some really excellent. I mean, look at this excellent legislation that's coming out of this. I mean, this is all just go up to Tallahassee early, and you got like 4 or 5 really good bills now. Because guess what? Anna Escamani can put anything in there she wants to. She had like 4 amendments in there, and they're laughable. Like they didn't get even looked at. So, and I love you, but you are outnumbered and outclassed now.
Elections have consequences, and this is one of the consequences. This is something that was very clear and apparent prior to the election. During the campaigning, Democrats didn't show up. The data shows that, and the Democrats lost a good part of certain demographics at the ballot box, and these are the consequences of those actions or lack of actions. And so now the governor has the authority with $10 million to move migrants from one state to another state.
Now, to be on the sensitive side, because I love to make light of a lot of situations, but there's nothing light about this. I mean, we have a policy. We need to address our immigration policies. We just have to get a hold of what we're doing. And this is, it's both sides. We always keep promising and promising and promising, and neither side has fixed the problem.
Well, isn't this a federal government responsibility?
Yes, but the federal government is burdening like Texas and New Mexico and Arizona and Florida by not enforcing it. I mean, we've Arizona put a law in place, it got overturned because it is the federal government's responsibility. So if it is the federal government's responsibility, when is the federal government going to step up?
Mhm.
What these states are doing, what they're letting DeSantis do, is to send a message to Washington D.C. or to these sanctuary cities that if you want them, then you can have them, but you're not on the border. You're not having to deal with them every day.
So we recently had alien migrants come to Florida, to the Keys recently. How did the government handle that? How did the federal government and state government handle that situation? Since we do have our own borders that are porous, that expose us to international waters, how was that handled?
Well, if it's handled the way it's supposed to be handled, they were put into detention. They were put into detention, or they were, if they have sanctuary, if they have, oh, the term is just dropped out of my head. But if they have, immunity, or yeah, I think that's
Asylum,
asylum. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, if they can have
which is a process that
which is a process, but we don't have, used to have when a Cuban got here, and as soon as they touched the soil, we would let them be in society because it was called wet foot, dry foot.
right,
But that's
right,
not in effect anymore.
right. And with the current, I mean, there is the border patrol. That is their responsibility.
Correct.
Correct.
But
So
you
what is it that they're not doing, or what are they doing that
see, now here's something I'm glad you
there's a
bring.
disconnect?
I'm glad you brought that up, because here is where I think people just don't understand. Like when Donald Trump said build the wall,
Hmm.
it's because our border security, our border patrol has been asking for the assistance of a wall. And yeah, sure, it became a punchline. Yeah, it did everything else. But David, I went down to the border with Vina Francois when she was running for Congress,
Okay.
and I actually experienced, the conversation. And when those migrants, the first time, they were being, they were coming into in droves, and the border patrol had to do something, so they housed them the best they could, and then all of a sudden they're being called like evil, an evil department, because they're not being humane, and yet they were going home. These are mothers and fathers serving our country in a job that they brought like toys to the children. They got brought blankets. They tried to comfort them, and yet the Democrats, and I'm going to say it specifically, the Democrats, when they went down to the border, they came out of that calling the border patrol, had them in cages and this and that. Yes, I get it, but I also get that the fact is the heart, the real heart of our border patrol is good, and they want to protect us. And if the administration doesn't give them the tools, if the administration, for every single time these migrants come over in droves,
Right.
there are drugs that are being pushed in other areas.
So with the $2 million that DeSantis has at his use for these migrant flights, uh,
It will relieve the border patrol or the immigration people in that border, they will put the burden on the sanctuary city to do the immigration process.
Okay, so with $10 million, I would think that we're talking about private jets. I presume.
No, I don't think they do.
I don't think they'll put them on commercial
Oh, I wouldn't.
airlines because if I remember correctly, they were the 50 individuals that were flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard.
Let's talk about that one.
Right. The 50 that were flown were on the private jet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too sure about the cost of that, but I would think that 10 million is not going to go too far. I don't know what the budget is for the Border Patrol or for immigration efforts, but with $10 million, I'd rather see that money be spent differently, more effectively, because I think I perceive this more as a stunt than anything effective. Okay, if with $10 million, maybe you move mm, 500 people. I think that's a exaggeration.
Well, let's
10
look at.
flights, but okay,
Mhm.
then what? You fly them, and then what? You're done with your 10 mil. How is that? How does that contribute to the solution, to the greater problem? You've got thousands and thousands of people crossing or trying to migrate, coming to Florida,
Mhm.
Texas, Arizona, from Canada, California. I just don't see this
See, that's a
as good
that.
policy
See, I love
on
that.
the fiscal part.
I love that you.
Fiscally.
I love that you did a Joel there, and you mentioned there are more than one border. There's the Canadian border. I love that you did that because
I
that's
pick
a
up on it.
that's a Joel thing. Like Joel said, hey, if we're gonna build a wall, because I'm sarcastic. I said if we're gonna build a wall, when we start in with Canada, because I love Canada, but it, you're saying we don't have a problem there. I mean, we don't have as bad a problem because it's, but it's still we. I don't know what it does, but I do know what the message was when DeSantis did what he did.
Mhm.
So if you remember the actual 49, 50 that were sent, they were Venezuelan. And the reason
right.
they were Venezuelan,
Mhm.
which people don't get, right? The reason they were Venezuelan is because they're going to get asylum because the president had already said, and this is Biden, right? They're going to get it because they're a communist country. So really, all DeSantis did was send them to Martha's Vineyard to get processed because they're going to stay here anyways. But then Martha's Vineyard had to prove that they are stuck up and they don't have the resources and they are a border city and they don't have resources. Why don't they have resources? Because they're a bunch of rich snobs, Democrats, rich snobs. Because we have rich Republicans, we have rich Democrats. And if you go to Martha's Vineyard, there are a lot of rich Democrats there, and they got rid of those people quickly. And they didn't even send them to Boston. They sent them to New York, which I don't get.
Okay, but it harkens back to my question. How does this policy achieve the greater goal? I just don't see that.
Does it have to?
For $10 million, it should. I mean, I'm a taxpayer here in Florida, and I would think that my tax dollars would be used for something practical, useful for the greater good. And hey, I like to visit, Chicago. I'd like to visit Martha's Vineyard. Put me on the flight to
David, just walk
to
over the
Martha's
border.
Vineyard.
Just
But
walk
I
over the
just don't-
border and see
I
what
just don't-
happens.
I just don't understand.
Do you have to?
I do understand. I do. I see it as a political sign. I see it as
All
part
parties
of
do it.
of a greater political agenda. It's just at what cost? Do we follow up with those individuals who were flown to Martha's Vineyard? And from some accounts in the media, I understand that some of them were like, hey, this is a great opportunity for us. We can, find employment. We can do, X, Y, and Z. We can take care of ourselves. This is a better situation than what they thought it would. That's some of the media that I've read. However, for $10 million, I just think that could be better served in our communities here in Florida. Just looking at the
So David, I'm not gonna.
greater issue.
This is where you're not gonna get an argument from me, or
Oh, I'm not looking for an argument. I'm just looking for some, some clarity and
this is where
and
debate.
looking for some,
You know what I'm saying?
some understanding.
This is where debate kind of goes.
This is 10 million.
I know. This is where kind of debate doesn't go where it's supposed to, because yes, the legislature gave him this authority. It's to protect the governor from what he did, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
and
that's one of the motives.
It's a blanket. It's a band-aid.
Excuse me,
you can't do a band-aid. It's
spitting on your hand and just wiping the situation. That's what it is.
I mean, it happens everywhere. So let's just.
I'm worried about Florida.
I'm worried about Florida too.
I'm worried about my tax dollars here in Florida.
No, you aren't.
Yes,
because if you were really worried about your tax dollars,
if I was really worried
I
am worried. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why we're doing this podcast to let people know.
Listen, this is where you and I care about our tax dollars. Where is the most important legislation? Right? If you're going to get me on your side, if this administration and this legislation were to go, these legislators were to go down the road of taking the authority away from cities and municipalities, because I believe in smaller government. That's when I get upset with,
this is definitely not smaller government,
right? So we can't have a good solid debate when it's something like, hey, I could say, oh, it's only $10 million. That still wouldn't go over well.
Mm-hmm.
But it is only $10 million. When you think of the billions of dollars that are spent. So get on the roller coaster, have a little ride. It's going to be over soon enough. I mean,
DeSantis will run for president and he'll lose, and that's it.
No, if
No,
I think if DeSantis,
over.
listen, I think if DeSantis were to run, I think he has a huge chance of being the one that people look to as the guy that stood up. He has the Donald Trump to him, and he has the I understand, like I get the politics. I think he really sends a different message. That's why you see Donald Trump beating up on him all the time. But don't think it's that way, because listen, I'm excited. You just brought it up. Nikki Haley, man.
I did.
Listen, Nikki Haley, she just jumped in that race too. And
not going anywhere.
I have to go. I really have a hard choice if DeSantis gets in, because those are two people, and that's what happens with Republicans. We have two quality candidates right there. And then there's a whole bunch of people that still feel Donald Trump is the best candidate. So, and our president has not decided 100% if he wants to jump in the race.
No, he's in.
No,
he's already stated that.
No, I read it. I just read it.
That Biden has stated last week
that he's interested, but he's not.
No, he's in. He's in.
Okay, but he said he's not 100%.
The field has already cleared of any major contenders who understand Democratic or the Democrat politics. He's running. Again.
So we have geriatric presidents now. I'm tired of this. Come on, can we just look at somebody who's maybe a little bit younger, a little bit, understands a little bit more about us?
A lot less crazy.
Okay. Immigration, federal government needs to take over, and they wouldn't have these stupid stunts that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing these stunts to make sure that they're aware they got to fix the problem. That's where I'm standing on this, and that's what I believe that's what they're trying to say.
And there we are.
Okay,
All right. Woo.
you can't make this shit up because this is stupid as it comes.
Hey, thank you for a thank you to the Oxford for having us. And again, this is You Can't Make This Shit Up. We've got content coming at you
We got to thank
more often and regularly.
we got to thank John,
Our producer.
our producer.
Yes.
We got to thank Christian, our political salsa
Executive director and business partner.
business partner. And we also have to thank Addison, who had to run off to class for her internship. And we do have an intern out there named Gabriel. He does like
Come home, Gabriel.
he does like
Come
if you
home.
send him a
Come to
task,
us.
he sends it back. But Gabriel, you should come and see what it's really like in the office.
Yep.
And then we have Intern Pursuit on the 8th of March.
Coming up very soon. This year, this first quarter is moving very quickly. And we've got so many great projects. I'm excited. I'm really excited for 2023. It's been great.
Now, I know we didn't
So-
do anything sponsored, but let me tell you, since I talked about Christian, before we get out of here, let's talk about political salsa. We've locked it in. It's in July. We're 98% sure that it's going to be hosted at 6464 International Drive, which is the Roboland, which just opened.
Roboland Orlando.
And it's an incredible place. It's child friendly. It's, it's a fun place to be. And I think that everybody who wants to participate in a Latin immersion experience needs to make it out there and see the wonderful government officials and the wonderful people that will show up. Because David, you and I are not of Hispanic origin, but this makes my heart go really
I'm
fast
excited.
because I'm excited. I'm excited because they bring so much and I can learn so much from them. So this political salsa is going to be incredible. It's going to be down on International Drive, and maybe we can make this a whole week eventually. But David, it's your initiative. It's those that put it together.
Right.
And I think I thank you for your vision and where you brought our company.
There'll be more information coming out. We'll be rolling out information on the Political Salsa socials, the Jay and Washington socials, all over our business entities. So look forward to more information, the Twitter Space podcast, a lot of stuff rolling out towards the end of the month, early March. So please like, share, hit the notification buttons so that you know that you're getting all of our new content. Go back, review some of the old stuff where we started from. Share this information, help us grow our community. Share this information with your friends, family, those politicals that who could be interested in what we have to say and the knowledge that we're willing to share with you. So this is You Can't Make This Shit Up. We'll see you soon.